The night held its breath in the quiet blocks. A deceptive stillness shattered without warning. A searing white flash tore across the inky canvas of the sky. A fleeting star with a dangerous trajectory. It plunged towards one of the city's hidden gateways, culminating in a violent eruption that echoed the chaos in one man's soul. At the epicenter of the blast, a figure slumped against the cold stone, the fence and asphalt beneath him stained crimson. Blood, sweat, and more blood. A grim testament to a desperate struggle. Caden. Even the name felt heavy with the weight of his exhaustion. He pushed himself up, a ragged breath escaping his lips, the thought searing, could I really look this pathetic? This wouldn't have happened, not if they hadn't swarmed him, a relentless tide of malice. He looked down the deserted street, a harsh cough rattling in his chest. Now, survival hinged on one thing. Vanishing? He needed to become a ghost, to mend his broken body before they inevitably tracked him down. Running was a temporary reprieve, a slow march towards capture if he didn't find sanctuary. An idea sparked, a fragile hope in the darkness. If he could just find a place to disappear, his chances, however slim, would multiply. Then, a soft rustle broke the silence. From the shadows of discarded cardboard boxes, a cat emerged. Its eyes, weary and knowing, met his. And in that simple creature, Caden saw a possibility. A desperate, unlikely camouflage. He moved towards the animal, its indifference a strange comfort. Just as he reached it, the alleyway blazed with another blinding flash, followed by an immediate swallowing darkness. The city outside fell silent once more. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of gold and rose. Inside a small store, the counter overflowed with colorful bags of cat food. A young man with sun-kissed hair gazed at the display, a soft smile playing on his lips. His eyes danced across the variety, a silent debate unfolding in his mind. Sales whispered promises, but his own cat's delicate diets held him back. Yet, these were their absolute favorites. He lingered on the bags that had been out of stock, now proudly replenished. Then, new flavors caught his attention, sparking a fresh wave of consideration. He fidgeted, a familiar dilemma, the finicky palates of his beloved companions. He should probably wait, just in case. But then he saw the last day sticker on a few enticing varieties. Well, he thought, since I'm here. A few bags turned into a small pile. The store owner beamed. Then, a toy with glowing reviews snagged his attention. He tapped his lip, a playful internal struggle. He wanted it all, but responsibility tugged at his wallet. In the end, a familiar impulse won. If he was going to treat them, he'd do it right. His arms soon overflowed with goodies. Stepping onto the crosswalk, the weight of the bag shifted in his hands. He chuckled softly, a touch of self-deprecation in his murmur. He'd come for something for himself, but as always, his furry companions had taken precedence. A satisfied smile bloomed as he tucked the bag into his backpack. They're going to love this. Everything felt right. The ordinary rhythm of the street returned. A mother chatted on her phone, her young son darting around her legs, oblivious to the world beyond his playful orbit. Then, in a heartbeat, everything changed. The boy, chasing a runaway ball, stumbled into the road without looking. A car roared down the street, an unstoppable force. The young man's blood ran cold. No time. The car wouldn't stop. The headlights illuminated the child's small, terrified figure, frozen in the path of danger. Instinct took over. He moved without conscious thought, a lightning-fast surge of adrenaline. Everything around him seemed to slow, the world compressing into the single, terrifying image of the boy in harm's way. He lunged, grabbing the child, yanking him back from the brink. Tires screeched, leaving dark scars on the asphalt. A collective gasp hung in the air. Safe. They were on the sidewalk, the danger averted by a hair's breadth. The young boy looked up, his eyes wide with confusion, unable to comprehend the near tragedy. The young man knelt, his arm around the child's small shoulders, a silent check for injuries. "Hey, buddy," he said, his voice a little shaky. "You scared me." He listened to the murmurs of the crowd, surprised whispers, questions hanging in the air. Then he stood. "I gotta go," he said, a quick, invented explanation. "Older brother duties, you know." His mother rushed to the boy, her voice a blend of relief and panic. Are you hurt? Who, who helped you? The child pointed a small finger at the space where the young man had just stood. But he was already gone, melting back into the anonymity of the crowd. Intuition, he thought. A dawning awareness. He'd reacted before his mind could even register the danger. Now, the weight of what he'd done settled upon him. Careful, a silent warning echoed within. Someone might have seen. Back in the familiar quiet of his block, lights glowed warmly in the windows. The young man descended the steps, 2 food bowls in his hands. "Hey guys, sorry I'm late," he called out, his voice soft. "Had some school stuff." He sat down, placing the bowls before 3 expectant felines. "You 3 are always together," he mused aloud. "Family, or just the best of friends?" A chorus of insistent meows greeted him, but there was an unusual urgency in their tone. "What's wrong?" he asked, a knot of worry tightening in his stomach. "Why aren't you eating?" Confusion clouded his features. He'd spent his last bit of allowance on this food. The black and white cat nudged his leg, a silent invitation. He stood, following their unusual lead. "You guys are acting kinda strange today," he murmured. "Where are we going?" Then it clicked. They wanted him to follow. They led him through a dark gateway. The black and white cat disappeared around a corner. He peered cautiously from behind a wall. "Did we arrive?" he whispered, a growing sense of unease prickling his skin. And then he saw him, a ginger cat lying still on the cold ground, a dark stain blooming beneath him. Warm light spilled from a nearby window, blurring his vision. He focused, the familiar lamps of his own living room swimming into view. Caden, he was here. But how? Fragments of memory flickered, the blinding flash, the touch of fur. He tried to move, a strange disconnect. He lifted a paw, then another. His ears twitched. A heavy exhale escaped a body that wasn't his own. He was a cat. Caden's mind reeled, piecing together the impossible. The alleyway, the indifferent cat, his outstretched hand, the blinding flash. Waves of power. "I did it," a stunned thought echoed. "I actually did it." A voice broke through his bewildered thoughts. "Hey, you're awake." The young man from the store stood in the doorway, his face etched with relief. "When I found you, you were unconscious, covered in blood. I almost thought—" "Everything seems fine now," the boy chirped happily. "Fine," Caden thought, a surge of frustrated energy building within his feline form. What a simpleton. This kid had brought him here, into his home, while he was out cold. The boy suddenly darted out of the room. Strange sounds drifted from another part of the house. He returned with 2 bowls of food. "Sorry for the wait." Caden eyed the bowls with distaste. The boy began to chatter, oblivious to the turmoil within the ginger cat. "You had so many wounds. All that blood. I thought it was serious blood loss, open wounds, but then I realized you were just covered in it." This guy never stops talking, Caden thought, irritation growing with each word. The boy placed a bowl of milk on the floor, then squatted with a satisfied smile. "You must be starving. Eat up. You'll feel better in no time." Caden stared at the milk, a silent protest. The boy clicked open a can, the pungent smell assaulting Caden's senses. "Here you go. This will get your strength back." Caden glared at the bowls. "Cat food? This fool dares to offer me?" The boy's cheerful face beamed. "Come on, it's really tasty." Then a betraying rumble echoed from Caden's stomach. He sighed, a heavy feline sound. "Looks like I don't have a choice." This human thought he was just a stray, and Caden needed to regain his strength, no matter how unappetizing the offering. He reluctantly lapped at the milk. Suddenly, he was lifted. The boy's hands cradled him, turning him over. "Let's see if you're a boy or a girl." "What are you doing?" Caden's mind screamed, a silent, furious roar. "How dare you?" The boy froze, his brow furrowing. He looked around the room. Had he just heard something? A rough male voice? He must have left the TV on in the other room. Caden, his feline face contorted in silent fury, repeated his command. "Let me go. Now! Or I swear I will shred your ears." A wave of pure horror washed over the boy. He dropped the cat as if burned, scrambling backward. Talking? The cat was talking. He shook, fear gripping him in icy tendrils, a sharp click of a tongue. Quiet! Caden's voice, now undeniably present, though still tinged with a feline rasp, cut through the silence. You're too loud. Caden took a step closer to the trembling figure. What's your name? The boy just stared, his eyes wide with disbelief. I asked, Caden repeated, his voice low and dangerous. Your name. The boy continued to shake, his mind struggling to grasp the impossible reality unfolding before him. Caden's control snapped, claws extended, sharp and sudden. Did you want me to repeat myself? He hissed, the feline rasp adding an unsettling edge to his fury. The boy, wide-eyed, stammered. No, Mr. Cat. Caden, the cat corrected sharply. Then, with an air of command utterly incongruous with his current form, bring that chair here. He watched as the boy hesitated, a flicker of disbelief in his eyes. Caden's claws flexed again. I won't repeat myself. J.W. scrambled into action, fetching the chair with surprising speed. He placed it near the cat, then sat down on the floor opposite him, his gaze fixed on the ginger creature with a mixture of apprehension and curiosity. Caden, with a grunt of effort, clumsily hauled himself onto the chair. He exhaled heavily. Strange, he thought. It shouldn't be this difficult. He shifted, trying to find a comfortable position. It's this ridiculous body, he concluded. The cat settled onto the chair in a surprisingly human-like posture, a sight that momentarily touched the boy with a strange sense of familiarity. The moment passed. Caden's claws flashed out again. If you breathe a word of this to anyone, he growled, his voice low and menacing, I will kill you. He instinctively hooked the boy's shirt, as if to emphasize his threat, but his attention was suddenly caught by something else. He released the fabric abruptly, his gaze fixed on the mirror across the room. A disgruntled, plump ginger cat stared back. Good heavens, Caden thought with dismay. I'm fat. He scrutinized his reflection, a paw tentatively touching his cheek. A double chin? Seriously? His gaze dropped lower, and he grabbed a roll of fur on his stomach. His pupils narrowed in horror. I've become a fat cat. The cat slumped onto the chair, a picture of utter dejection. A tremor ran through him, a physical manifestation of his inner turmoil. Caden, this is what I've become. A frustrated cry escaped his feline throat. J.W. recoiled in fear. He rushed to the seemingly lifeless cat, shaking him gently. No, don't die. Inside the furry head, Caden's thoughts were a whirlwind of self-loathing. Who would have thought, incarnated into this unattractive blob? J.W. picked up the limp cat, his voice filled with panic. Mr. Cat, what happened? You just screamed and fainted. Caden's inner voice was laced with despair. Not even the strength to shift again. Am I stuck like this until this thing recovers? J.W. continued to shake him, his pleas growing more frantic. Finally, a weak voice tinged with annoyance emerged. Stop it. J.W. cradled the cat in his arms, a wave of relief washing over him. You're okay! The cat, now conscious, bristled. I did not faint, he snapped, his voice surprisingly clear. Let me go. The boy carefully placed the cat back on the floor. I was just scared when you went still. I'm glad you're all right. Caden turned away, his tail twitching with irritation. Why on earth would you be scared of fainting? W simply smiled, a gentle, unwavering expression. Caden stared at him, a heavy sigh escaping his feline lips. This is a strange child. He turned back to the mirror, his dissatisfaction palpable. A fat cat. Why? Why me? J.W. raised his hand hesitantly, like a student in class. Mr. Caden, he ventured. If you're a human, why do you talk like a cat? Caden exhaled heavily. I talk because I am a human, he stated, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. The boy's surprised repetition of the phrase only deepened his exasperation. The cat turned to him. Look, he said, his voice firm. I may look like this now, but I'm a human, just like you. Temporarily, in cat form. J.W.'s eyes widened. So, you're a human turned into a cat? Caden confirmed it with a curt nod. The details, he added dismissively, are far too complicated for you to understand. JW sat there, a picture of utter confusion. How is that even possible? A person becoming a cat? Caden lay down on the floor with a sigh. The answer to your first question, he said wearily, should be obvious just by looking at me. And the second? I simply thought it was possible. And when I tried, it worked. I still don't understand any of this, JW admitted. You don't need to, Caden retorted. But why did you turn into a cat? And why were you unconscious and covered in blood? JW persisted. None of your business, Caden snapped. They stared at each other in silence. The cat snorted. Look, he said finally, we met under unusual circumstances, but don't go digging for more than you need to know. You don't need to know anything at all. JW scratched the back of his head. Okay, he agreed slowly. An awkward silence descended upon the room. Suddenly, Caden's stomach rumbled loudly. JW immediately offered him the bowl of cat food. Here, Mr. Cat. Caden, you should eat. You were out for a while, and you were hurt. Caden glared at him. I am temporarily a cat, he emphasized. Yet, the boy still pushed the bowl closer. JW shrugged. Maybe you're a human, but right now, you're in a cat's body. Human food isn't good for cats. And you're injured. You'll only get worse. JW headed for the door. Eat up, he said again. I'm going to feed the other cats outside. It's probably chaos out there. They must be starving. Caden eyed the bowl. He has a point, he conceded internally. He'd heard that human food was bad for cats, and right now, he was a cat. He should probably try to eat like one, to regain his strength. He cautiously approached the bowl, sniffing the strange-smelling food. Never thought I'd see the day, he mused. But strength first. He took a tentative bite. His eyes widened. This is actually good? He began to eat, slowly at first, then with increasing fervor. He couldn't seem to stop. Finally, he pushed himself away from the bowl, utterly stuffed. Good heavens, he thought with disgust. Caden, gorging himself on cat food. Then he mentally corrected himself. It's not me. It's this insatiable creature. His stomach rumbled again. Caden looked down at his plump body with distaste. This is awful, and I have no strength. If those thugs found him now, he wouldn't even be able to defend himself. Staying like this until I recover seems like the only option. Deep night settled over the city. JW entered the room. I need to go out for a bit, he said. Where are you going? Caden asked, suspicion lacing his tone. To the vet clinic, JW replied. I'm out of cat food for tomorrow. I bought a lot of treats, but no actual food. At this hour? Caden asked doubtfully. JW beamed. He sat down next to the cat. Want to come with me? Caden glared. Why on earth would I want to go with you? JW's expression softened. Please don't be upset, he said gently. What if you told someone about you? I'm worried. Caden scoffed internally. Trying to make me think I'm the untrustworthy one. He turned away. Letting you go alone is risky. I should keep an eye on you. JW's face lit up. He carefully picked up the cat, tucking him under his jacket. Okay. Caden, jostled and indignant, protested. What are you doing? Let me go. Do you really think I'm going outside like this? The street lamp cast a soft glow. JW carried Caden close, the cat's rhythmic purring a strange counterpoint to his inner turmoil. Caden's eyes widened slightly. An annoying yet comforting warmth was spreading through him. No, he reminded himself firmly. I'm not a cat. This is just tiredness from the transformation. He closed his eyes, trying to ignore the unsettling sense of peace. They arrived at L Pet Hospital. An elderly doctor greeted JW. What brings you here so late? JW explained he needed cat food and wanted the doctor to check his cat, as he seemed injured. Caden, overhearing, shot the boy a look of pure annoyance, lied to him. The doctor, oblivious to the silent drama, asked JW to place the cat on the examination table. He typed into his computer. Have you brought this cat in before? What's his name? Caden, JW replied. The doctor looked at the plump ginger cat with interest. Caden, huh? A rather substantial name for a substantial cat. I will end him, Caden thought icily. The doctor gently examined Caden, turning his head, even checking under his tail. Then came the teeth. "This is utterly humiliating," Caden fumed. Finally, the doctor straightened up. "I don't see any significant problems." JW pointed at the table. "But there was so much blood when I found him." The doctor shrugged. "No fresh wounds. A few scratches, but nothing a little antiseptic won't fix. Nothing I can do here." JW sighed in relief, ignoring Caden's furious glare. Still worrying about me, the fool, Caden thought. The doctor looked at Caden with a touch of concern. He could stand to lose a little weight. "I will kill him again," Caden vowed silently. The doctor's voice echoed in the quiet hospital. "Just take care of him. Come back if any other symptoms appear." A quiet relief settled over them as JW and Caden made their way back. The cat nestled securely within the boy's jacket. But the peace was short-lived. A subtle shift in the air, a barely perceptible sound behind them, snagged Caden's attention. He stirred, a low murmur escaping his lips. "More monster cats?" Caden muttered, a note of bewildered surprise in his voice, still muffled by the fabric of JW's jacket. JW looked down at the cat, his brow furrowed in confusion. "What are you talking about?" Just then, he heard it too, a low, guttural sound echoing from around the corner. And then, two piercing scarlet eyes flashed in the darkness of the alleyway. A white cat, its black stripes stark against its pale fur, slowly emerged into the dim light. Fear tightened its icy grip on JW's chest. Was this the monster Caden had sensed? He stared at the creature, a viscous drool dripping from its fangs. "It looks more like a tiger than a cat," he whispered, a tremor in his voice. "Maybe it just seems that way because Caden's a cat now. But this one, it feels different. The size, the presence." Before they could formulate a plan, a deafening roar ripped through the night air, a sound that spoke of pure predatory power. "Run!" JW yelled, his instincts taking over. He spun around, bolting in the opposite direction. As JW sprinted, Caden, jostled within his jacket prison, called out, "Think fast, kid! It thought you'd just freeze. At this speed, it'll be on us in seconds." The monstrous feline was indeed gaining on them with terrifying speed, its massive leaps eating up the distance. It lunged, claws extended like deadly rakes. JW dodged the attack by a hair's breadth, stumbling backward into a stack of overflowing trash cans. He landed hard, his back absorbing the impact, a shield protecting the fragile form of Caden within his jacket. They stared up at the snarling beast. "You okay?" Caden asked, his voice tight with worry. "Just tore my clothes," JW gasped. "What do we do? We need a weapon." Then, a flicker of memory. JW reached into his pocket, pulling out a small, innocuous stick. With a flick of his wrist, it extended, growing longer and longer. He held it out defensively. "Stay back!" he commanded the monstrous cat. Caden stared in disbelief at the end of the stick, a teaser toy, a fluffy miniature monster dangling precariously. It swung back and forth, and both cats froze, their predatory instincts momentarily suspended. Is he insane? Caden thought. Fighting back with this? Is this divine weapon all we have? The furry toy danced to the right, then to the left, its simple movement strangely hypnotic. The monster cat, however, was not so easily distracted. It roared again, launching another ferocious attack. JW thrust the toy forward. The sudden movement caused it to flail wildly. He squeezed his eyes shut, bracing for impact. But it never came. He opened his eyes to see the monster cat airborne, leaping for the toy. "This is our chance!" JW exclaimed, turning to Caden. But Caden wasn't looking at him. His own feline instincts had taken over. He too was scrambling, not away from the monster, but towards the wildly swinging toy. A blinding flash. Lightning ripped through the sky in an echoing explosion. Caden hung suspended in midair, a defeated figure below him, repeating words of surrender. "Victory is yours, Caden." He was leaving the battlefield, the whispers of the crowd fading behind him. Caden has won again. How many times has this happened? Challenging everyone, always winning. Even the strongest avoid him now. Can't even the awakened withstand his power? A man in a suit offered his hand. "Join us. Be my right hand. We will conquer this world. Another group knelt before him. Caden's eyes snapped open. He was batting playfully at the dangling toy, a confused nervousness flickering in his gaze as he looked back at JW. An awkward silence hung in the air, broken only by the low growl of the monstrous cat, poised to strike. The monster cat lunged, a blur of white fur and black stripes. It snatched the teaser in its powerful jaws, tearing it from JW's grasp. The monster turned and fled, the silly toy clutched in its teeth. Caden watched it go, a strange sense of disconnected sadness washing over him. My body. It moved on its own. JW stared after the retreating monster, a look of dismay on his face. Finally, the monstrous cat spat out the teaser, discarding it like a useless trinket. The streetlights cast long shadows on the quiet street as JW slowly descended the steps. Caden cradled in his arms once more. You were right, JW murmured. It was a cat. The way it reacted to the toy, he peered around a corner. Why did it look like that, though? Too big to be normal. I don't know, Caden replied, his voice still a low rumble. Maybe the owner didn't skimp on the treats. JW hid back around the corner. It's gone now. Maybe it stopped chasing us. I think we're safe. Maybe you're safe, Caden countered, a note of warning in his tone. But what about everyone else? JW frowned. What do you mean? It escaped you, Caden said. What do you think will happen when it finds someone else? Lounging in the relative safety of JW's arms, Caden continued. Not many people out this late, but that thing will attack anyone it sees, though they might figure things out faster and just run home. JW clutched his head. I didn't even think about that. Caden looked up in surprise. What do you mean? The only answer is to run, like we did. JW's face brightened. Exactly. You saw how fast that thing was. Someone's going to get hurt. Then call someone. JW slapped his forehead. Duh! My phone. I left it at home. Caden sighed heavily. So, we can't do anything. JW's eyes widened with determination. No, I can fix this. Caden was bewildered. What are you talking about? Why on earth would you do anything? The beam of JW's flashlight cut through the darkness. It's just weird to hear a cat swearing, he said, a strange mix of naivete and concern in his voice. Caden groaned. What can you do? Did you see that thing? Those claws could shred a car. JW's face was resolute. We still can't just leave it like that. Why, JW? Caden asked, his voice laced with exasperation. Why are you still talking about this? It's not your problem. The boy's serious gaze met Caden's, a look that made the cat's inner turmoil even more profound. He knows he could get hurt, but he still wants to help. He's a softie, Caden thought, a strange mix of annoyance and something akin to recognition. JW frowned. You used to be that cat, didn't you? He murmured, a hint of sadness in his voice. So gentle, so affectionate. I don't know why it changed, but I can't just leave it. Caden closed his eyes, a heavy sigh escaping his lips. His irritated voice echoed in the quiet street. Fine. If you're really going to do something stupid, I'll help you. JW's face lit up with surprise. Caden concentrated. It's not much, he said, but I can give you some of my power, enough to reason with that thing, maybe. JW sat down excitedly. Really? Caden shifted away. Don't get so worked up. It won't last long. A very, very short time. He gestured with a paw. Come here, sit down. We need to be on the same level. JW immediately squatted down. Caden raised a paw, touching JW's forehead. A faint blush rose on the boy's cheeks. The cat felt a strange sense of embarrassment. Then, tiny particles of light seemed to explode around Caden. JW's eyes widened in astonishment as a visible power began to coalesce around him, swirling upwards in miniature vortexes. A nearby street lamp exploded with a sharp crack. The energy pulsed outwards, a faint electrical current seeming to run through the very streets. JW's body glowed with an inner light. I can feel it, he exclaimed, looking at his hands, now radiating a soft luminescence. It's overflowing. It's the power of light, Caden said, a note of exhaustion in his voice. JW, marveling at his newfound strength, declared, "Now I can go find that cat." A sharp clicking of claws echoed on the steps behind them. Caden turned sharply. "You don't need to," he said. "It's already here." The monster cat growled, a deep, menacing rumble in its chest. JW instinctively stepped forward. "Stay behind me, Caden. It could be dangerous." Caden smirked. "Stay behind you? Because it's dangerous?" Then something clicked in his mind. He looked at the boy, truly looked at him for the first time. Despite everything, he's calm. Even with borrowed power, a normal person would be terrified standing before that beast. But he's not. "Is this the same cat that came to your house a couple of days ago?" JW asked, his voice surprisingly steady. "Is he crazy?" Caden thought with annoyance. "Does he think that thing understands him?" JW looked at the snarling monster. "It's strange. Haven't seen you for a couple of days." He paused. "What happened to you?" The monster cat's claws flexed, digging into the asphalt. It tensed, ready to spring. The monster cat lunged. JW screamed, a raw, instinctive sound. "What are you doing?" Caden yelled, his voice filled with terror. "Hurry up and hide!" The massive paw, claws extended, flashed inches from JW's face. The boy reacted with lightning speed, his borrowed power surging through him as he abruptly squatted, narrowly avoiding the deadly strike. He gasped, a shaky breath of relief. Caden stared, his feline eyes wide with surprise. Such a fast reaction. The monster cat continued its relentless assault, but JW, imbued with Caden's light, moved with an uncanny agility, dodging each brutal attack. Caden narrowed his eyes, a new thought taking root. He's not just avoiding them by chance. Caden watched their frantic dance, the boy moving with a speed and precision that defied explanation. It was as if JW could anticipate the monster's every lunge, his reactions impossibly swift. Even if his eyes could track the creature's movements, a normal human wouldn't possess that level of reflexive agility. Then, a blinding white light erupted around JW, and Caden understood. The boy wasn't just dodging, he wasn't even relying on the sliver of power Caden had lent him. He was simply avoiding the attacks, moving with an inherent speed. The monster cat swiped and clawed at the empty air, its frustration growing. Finally, a blow connected, sending JW sprawling. JW, winded, thought back to Caden's words. Enough power to reason with it. But it won't last long. He stared at the monstrous feline, a sudden clarity washing over him. He couldn't waste this fleeting chance. He needed to wait for the perfect opening, a decisive moment to end this. And then, it arrived. Another savage attack, narrowly avoided. JW scrambled towards the wall, pushing off with an explosive burst of speed just as the monster's claws grazed his side. Caden watched in astonishment. That wasn't my power. The monster, momentarily losing sight of its agile prey, looked up just in time to see JW hurtling towards it. This kid, he's naturally gifted with speed and agility. Caden realized, a surge of surprised admiration. JW unleashed his own power, a raw, untamed energy crackling around his hands. A sharp crack echoed through the alleyway. "Sorry!" JW yelled, then struck the monster with a force that sent it reeling. A deafening explosion ripped through the narrow space, the air crackling with raw power. JW slumped to the ground, gasping for breath, his gaze fixed on the defeated monster. A strange sadness washed over him. He hadn't wanted to hurt it. Caden approached. I didn't expect you to rush straight into the fight like that," he admitted, a hint of awe in his voice. "Who knew you had that in you?" JW chuckled, a knowing sound. "Think it's dead?" He looked at the unconscious monster. A strange hissing sound emanated from its body. The monster began to shrink, its massive form receding until it resembled a normal-sized cat. "I knew it!" JW exclaimed, a wave of understanding washing over him. "We don't have time for this," Caden interjected, his voice urgent. "All that noise. People will be here soon." A swift movement sliced through the air. A man sat down on a railing, perched high on one of the city's antennas, his eyes glued to his phone. "Strange," he muttered, his voice low. "Why can't this device locate the sample?" He sighed, a sound of deep frustration. "An hour ago, it was right here." He squeezed the phone until it creaked. Is the device broken? Do I have to awaken the seal myself? I didn't want to risk the bloodhounds, but he closed his eyes. This opportunity, I can't miss it. The experiment could be a success. His eyes snapped open, glowing with an eerie red light. Scarlet tendrils of power emanated from him. "Where is the sample?" he commanded, his voice resonating with an unnatural force. "Return to me, now." Back in JW's apartment, a used first aid kit lay open on the floor. JW sighed in relief, looking at the bandaged ginger cat. "I did everything I could," he said softly. "Is that okay?" Caden nodded. "Just stressed, nothing else." But JW leaned closer, his voice filled with concern. "Still, maybe we should get you checked by a doctor." Caden bristled. Maybe he was too weak to fully transform into a monster. What if he turns right there in the clinic after treatment? JW conceded, "I know, but I'm still worried." As JW began packing the first aid kit, Caden interrupted. "Stop fussing. I'll be fine. And even if something does happen, what can you do about it?" The ginger cat's gaze drifted to the sleeping form of the former monster cat on the couch. It could very well be him, Caden mused. But who would have thought a cat could turn into something like that? Not just bigger, damn strong too. A normal cat couldn't do that. A sudden thought chilled him. Awakened? "Caden!" JW called out, a flustered look on his face. "Sorry I haven't said anything yet. Been a little busy, with the kitten. Haven't had a chance to, well, where do I even start? This kid is infuriating sometimes," Caden thought. "What do you want to say?" JW finally took a deep breath. "That thing I did when we were fighting the cat?" Caden raised a brow. "You mean when you moved like lightning?" JW nodded, holding his hands out nervously. "Please, don't tell anyone about that." He looked down, embarrassed. I don't want people to know I can do that." Caden stared, a touch of incredulity in his voice. "You think that rabid cat is going to go around blabbing about your awakened ability?" JW looked up, surprised. "My awakened ability?" Now it was Caden's turn to be surprised. "He doesn't know? He's awakened and doesn't even realize it?" He sighed, a wave of understanding washing over him. "Right, I get it. Rare cases. People who have abilities but don't know they're awakened." JW raised his hand. "Master Caden? About awakened. And that super fast thing I did. That's an awakened ability." "That's right," Caden confirmed. JW's eyes widened with excitement. "So, I'm awakened? Are there others with abilities like mine?" Caden chuckled dryly. "You're looking at one." JW stared at the ginger cat, his jaw slightly agape. "You're awakened? You have abilities?" Caden confirmed it, his patience wearing thin. Finally, he snapped, "Did you honestly think a normal person could turn into a cat?" JW's eyes welled up. "Oh." Caden's annoyance faded, replaced by a flicker of concern. "What's wrong?" They looked at each other in silence. JW wiped his eyes. I always thought I was the only one who was abnormal." A wave of understanding washed over Caden. All this time, the boy had carried this secret, this perceived abnormality, alone. "Yeah," Caden said softly, a hint of sadness in his voice. "Trying to live a normal life when you're different, without knowing there are others, it's hard." JW clenched his fists. "My mom, she even forbade me from using it when she found out. When I was younger, I used it once. I can still remember the way my friends looked at me." He glanced at the flowers in the vase. "They called me a monster. Ever since then, I've hidden it, moved around a lot so people wouldn't get suspicious. I'm constantly scared. But I don't talk to Mom about it. Don't want to worry her. What if it's an illness? What if someone saw me?" His voice trembled. "What if they find out? They'll try to steal me, experiment on me, or just hate me." Caden listened in silence, the boy's raw vulnerability hanging heavy in the air. Tears welled in JW's eyes. "There are others," he whispered, a mix of relief and wonder in his voice. "Not just you. People with special abilities. I'm not sick. I'm just awakened." Caden turned away, a strange sense of lightness settling within him. Yeah, he admitted quietly. Makes me feel a little better too, in a weird way. An awkward silence filled the room. Tell me about the awakened, JW asked softly. Caden began his explanation. People with special abilities. We call them awakened. We still don't know when or how these abilities started appearing. They can be tied to physical or mental capabilities. Some have telekinesis, others destructive power. Some can focus energy into explosions. So, like superheroes from comics or movies? JW asked, his eyes wide with wonder. Caden chuckled. Maybe kind of similar. He continued. Depending on the ability, they can do different things. My main ability is high-speed movement, but I can do other things related to it. Does it get stronger over time? JW asked. Yeah, Caden replied. At first I could only use it once a day for a second. Now, maybe 3 to 5 seconds. That's all? Caden realized the truth. You've been afraid to use it, haven't you? You haven't developed it at all. He understood the depth of the boy's desperation, the weight of his hidden power. Do all awakened train their abilities? JW asked. Most don't want to get stronger, Caden explained. They can already do whatever they want. JW thoughtfully murmured, I think I'd still want to hide it. You seem like a special case, Caden observed dryly. JW's stomach rumbled loudly. He blushed. Sorry, didn't have time for dinner. Caden rolled his eyes. We were talking about serious things here. JW stood up quickly. I'll just grab something to eat. He returned with a piece of bread, chewing it hastily. Then, Caden's own stomach let out a loud growl. JW looked at him in surprise, and Caden, for the first time in a long time, felt a genuine wave of embarrassment. JW poured the remaining cat food into the bowl, placing it beside the ginger cat. Eat up, Caden, he said gently. You haven't had anything since dinner either. Caden looked at the offering with a weary sigh. More cat food. JW nudged him playfully. Come on, just endure it. The ginger cat stared at the food for a moment. Then with a heavy sigh, he began to eat, the hunger finally overriding his distaste. A synchronized crunching filled the quiet room. Just then, a palpable shift in the atmosphere. A scarlet aura, unseen but deeply felt, began to seep into the apartment, a faint hiss accompanying its intrusion. Caden's head snapped towards the windows, his feline senses on high alert. A frown creased his brow. What kind of energy is this? I barely noticed it. I'm still too weak. He watched tensely as the aura enveloped the house, a feeling of wrongness settling in his gut. Abruptly, the former monster cat's eyes snapped open, responding to the alien energy. It leaped from the couch, its white fur bristling, and began to frantically dart around the room, a desperate search for an exit. Finally, it spotted an open window, and without hesitation, it jumped out into the night. Caden and JW stared at the empty window in stunned silence. It just ran away? JW exclaimed, his voice filled with disbelief. Caden's gaze was fixed on the open window, a frown etched on his face. Impossible? How did I miss him going crazy? Was it that strange energy? JW's attention snapped to the window. He moved with sudden purpose, grabbing his cap. I have to find him, he declared, a determined set to his jaw. What if he attacks someone? Caden blocked his path. He was beyond help the first time. Don't stick your nose in this again. He doesn't have the power to become that monster again. But JW's eyes held a stubborn resolve. Then it'll be easier to bring him back. He touched the brim of his cap. It's not just about him. I'm worried about other people, and I don't want him to get hurt either. Caden watched the boy, a heavy sigh escaping his lips. I'm coming with you. JW looked surprised. I'm curious, Caden explained, his voice low. Curious about why he became like that. And this ominous energy outside is bothering me. He looked pointedly at JW. Don't misunderstand. I'm coming because I'm worried about you. Thanks, Caden, JW said, a small smile gracing his lips. I feel a lot more confident with you coming. He turned towards the door. Come on, let's go. He glanced back, and, just so you don't misunderstand,